Olivia Bennet clutched her portfolio so tightly her knuckles turned white. The glossy black marble of the Thornfield Enterprises lobby reflected her nervous expression back at her as she approached the reception desk. Outside, Chicago's April rain pattered against the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting shifting shadows across the minimalist decor that screamed money and power. "I have an interview with Mr. Thornfield at 10, she told the receptionist, a sleek woman with a perfect blonde bob who didn't look up from her computer screen. 53rd floor, they're expecting you." The woman slid a visitor badge across the counter without making eye contact. Olivia nodded her thanks and headed toward the elevator bank, her sensible heels clicking against the polished floor. She had prepared for this interview for weeks. Creative director at Thornfield Enterprises wasn't just any job. It was the job, the one that could pull her out of the financial hole her father's medical bills had dug. Her student loans weren't going anywhere, and her current position at a small marketing agency barely covered her rent in the less than glamorous part of town. The elevator ascended with stomach-lurching speed. 53 floors. 53 floors, closer to changing her life. "You've got this," she whispered to her reflection in the elevator's mirrored wall, straightening her navy blazer and tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "You're qualified. You're prepared. You're talking to yourself?" Olivia jumped. She hadn't realized someone had joined her in the elevator. A man in his early 30s stood beside her, coffee in hand, an amused smile playing at his lips. He wore no tie with his expensive-looking suit, and his dark hair had that carefully tousled look that probably cost more than her monthly grocery budget. "Pep talk," she admitted, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. "Big interview." He nodded, taking a sip of his coffee. "With Mr. Thornfield, for the creative director position." Something flickered in his eyes. "Ah, good luck with that." Before she could respond, the elevator dinged, and he stepped out on the 48th floor with a casual backward glance. "You're going to need it." The doors closed before she could ask what he meant. 5 more floors. Her stomach knotted. When the doors opened again, she was greeted by another reception area, this one staffed by a severe-looking woman with glasses perched on the end of her nose. "Olivia Bennet for Mr. Thornfield," she announced, trying to project confidence. The woman nodded. "Take a seat. Mr. Thornfield is running late." Of course he was. Men like William Thornfield Sr., CEO of a billion-dollar company, probably made a habit of keeping people waiting. It was a power move. Olivia had done her research. William Thornfield Sr. was notoriously demanding, a self-made man who'd built Thornfield Enterprises from the ground up. His advertising campaigns were legendary, his business tactics ruthless. She sat on one of the sleek leather chairs, reviewing her portfolio one last time. The campaigns she'd created for local businesses, the award-winning social media strategy for a small coffee chain, the rebrand of a struggling boutique that had increased their sales by 40%. Good work, solid work, but would it be enough for Thornfield? 45 minutes later, she was still waiting, her initial nervousness giving way to irritation. This was beyond a power move. It was disrespectful. She checked her phone. No messages, no emails explaining the delay. Finally, the receptionist's phone buzzed. She picked it up, listened, then looked at Olivia. "Mr. Thornfield will see you now. 3rd door on the right." Olivia stood, gathering her portfolio and smoothing her skirt. She took a deep breath and walked down the hallway, her heart pounding. This was it, the moment that could change everything. She knocked on the door, heard a muffled, "Come in," and entered. The office was surprisingly sparse, modern furniture, a wall of windows overlooking the Chicago skyline, now grey with rain. Behind the massive desk sat not the older man she was expecting, but the guy from the elevator. He glanced up, recognition dawning on his face, followed by that same amused smile. "Elevator girl. Right on time." Olivia frowned. "I was told Mr. Thornfield would be conducting this interview." "That's me." He leaned back in his chair. "William Thornfield Jr. Everyone calls me Liam." Junior. Of course, the heir to the Thornfield empire. How had she missed that in her research? She'd been so focused on the father, she hadn't paid much attention to the son. Please, sit. He gestured to the chair across from him. She sat, placing her portfolio on his desk. I apologize for not recognizing you, Mr. Thornfield. Liam, he corrected, and no need to apologize. I prefer flying under the radar. He picked up her resume. So, Olivia Bennett, Northwestern University, graduated with honors, 5 years at Cooper & Hayes, currently at Bloom Creative. He looked up. Small firm. But innovative, she countered. We've doubled our client base in the last year. Impressive. He didn't sound impressed. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk. Tell me why you want to work at Thornfield. It was the question she'd rehearsed most, but something about his tone, slightly bored, slightly condescending, threw her off. Thornfield sets the standard in advertising, she began, falling back on her practiced answer. Your campaigns for Azure Tech and Revolution Motors redefined industry expectations for digital integration. I believe my experience with smaller, agile firms would bring a fresh perspective to... That sounds rehearsed, he interrupted. Let's try again. Why Thornfield? The real reason. Olivia blinked. Excuse me? Everyone has an angle, Ms. Bennett. What's yours? Money? Prestige? Trying to climb the corporate ladder? Or maybe, he smirked, you're hoping to land more than just a job. Her cheeks burned. Was he implying what she thought he was implying? I'm here because I'm qualified for the position, she said stiffly. My work speaks for itself. Does it? He opened her portfolio without looking at her, flipping through her campaigns with barely a glance. Cute, small-time stuff, but cute. Olivia felt a flare of indignation. She'd poured her heart and soul into those campaigns, worked nights and weekends, pushed clients to take creative risks that had paid off. With all due respect, Mr. Thornfield, those small-time campaigns increased revenue for every client and won 3 industry awards. He raised an eyebrow. Defensive, are we? Look, Miss Bennett, Thornfield isn't the place for sensitive creatives who can't take criticism. We're ruthless here. We have to be. There's a difference between constructive criticism and dismissiveness, she countered, her voice steadier than she felt. He leaned back in his chair again, studying her. Tell me about the Revolution Motors campaign. She blinked at the sudden change in topic. Your campaign? Yes. What did you think of it? This felt like a trap. Praise it and she'd seem like a sycophant. Criticize it and she'd offend him. But she hadn't come this far to play it safe. Technically brilliant, she said carefully. The integration across platforms was seamless, but... He tilted his head, a challenge in his eyes. But it lacked heart. It was all flash, no emotional connection. People don't buy cars because of specs. They buy them because of how they make them feel. She held her breath, waiting for his reaction. His expression hardened. That flash increased their sales by 30%. Imagine what it could have done with an emotional hook. The corner of his mouth twitched. Was that almost a smile? Bold of you to criticize our most successful campaign of last year. You asked for my opinion. I did. He closed her portfolio. Here's mine. Your work is pedestrian, safe. There's nothing here that tells me you can operate at Thornfield's level. He stood up. Thank you for coming in, but I don't think you're what we're looking for. Olivia sat frozen, his words like a slap in the face. Pedestrian, safe, after all the risks she'd taken, the boundaries she'd pushed. You didn't even look at my work, she said quietly, rising to her feet. I saw enough. No, you didn't. Her voice grew stronger. You decided the moment you saw me in that elevator that I wasn't worth your time. You've kept me waiting for nearly an hour, barely glanced at my portfolio, and now you're dismissing me without a fair chance. He looked genuinely surprised by her outburst. Ms. Bennett, I've worked twice as hard as anyone to get where I am. I've stayed up for 72 hours straight to perfect campaigns. I've personally pitched to clients when account executives were too afraid to present risky ideas. My work isn't pedestrian, it's authentic. It connects with real people, and it gets results. His expression was unreadable. "Are you finished?" "No." She stepped closer to his desk, fury rising in her chest. "You want to know why I want to work at Thornfield? Because despite its reputation for brilliant technical work, this company has lost touch with what advertising is actually about, connecting with people. And I thought maybe, just maybe, I could help change that. But now I see the problem isn't with the company, it's with its leadership." Liam Thornfield's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about me or how I lead." "I know enough." She gathered her portfolio. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Thornfield. I wouldn't work for someone like you if it was the last job on earth." She turned to leave, her heart hammering in her chest, when his voice stopped her. "Someone like me." His tone was dangerous, quiet. "And what exactly am I like, Miss Bennet?" She shouldn't respond. She should walk out with whatever dignity she had left. But something in her snapped. She turned back. "You're exactly what I expected from a man who's had everything handed to him on a silver platter. Arrogant, entitled, so convinced of your own superiority that you can't recognize talent unless it looks and thinks exactly like you do." Her voice shook with anger. "People like you are the reason truly creative people get crushed in this industry." He moved around the desk so quickly, she barely had time to register it. Suddenly, he was standing right in front of her, his eyes flashing with anger. "You know nothing about what I've been handed or what I've earned," he said, his voice low. "You've spent, 20 minutes in my presence, and you think you can judge my entire character. That's not just presumptuous, Miss Bennet, it's ignorant." They were standing so close she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. Despite her anger, she was uncomfortably aware of how tall he was, how his presence seemed to fill the room. "Then enlighten me," she challenged, refusing to back down. "Tell me how the heir to a billion-dollar company has struggled." Something dark and painful flashed in his eyes. "You don't want to play this game with me." "It's not a game to me," she said, her voice catching. "This was my one shot. Do you have any idea what I had to sacrifice to get this interview?" "Life is full of disappointments," he said coldly. "Consider this good practice for the real world." And that was it, the final straw. Before she could think, before she could stop herself, her hand flew up and connected with his cheek with a crack that seemed to echo in the silent office. Time stood still. Horror washed over her as she realized what she'd done. She'd just slapped William Thornfield, Jr., heir to Thornfield Enterprises, potential employer, son of one of the most powerful men in Chicago. His hand went to his cheek, his eyes wide with shock. For a moment neither of them moved or spoke. She began, but what could she possibly say? Sorry seemed inadequate. "I shouldn't have done that." His expression shifted from shock to something else, something she couldn't quite read. When he spoke, his voice was eerily calm. "Security will see you out." As if on cue, the door opened and two men in suits entered. They didn't touch her, but their presence made it clear. Leave now or be removed. Clutching her portfolio to her chest like a shield, Olivia walked out of the office, past the receptionist who wouldn't meet her eyes, into the elevator that took her down 53 floors to the lobby where she'd been so full of hope just an hour ago. Outside, the rain had turned into a downpour. She had no umbrella. Of course, the perfect end to the perfect disaster of a day. As she stood under the minimal shelter of the building's entrance, watching the rain turn the sidewalks into mirrors, reality began to sink in. She had just assaulted the heir to Thornfield Enterprises. She could be arrested. At the very least, her career in advertising was over. Who would hire her after word got out? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from her roommate, Sophie. How did it go? Champagne, chilling for celebration. Olivia closed her eyes, fighting back tears. How could she explain what had just happened? That she'd not only failed to get the job, but had likely destroyed any chance of ever working in advertising in Chicago again. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the rain, letting it wash over her face, hiding the tears that had started to fall. One step at a time. Get home. figure out what to do next. Somehow, the walk to the L station was a blur. She boarded the train still dripping, ignoring the irritated looks from other passengers. By the time she reached her stop in Wicker Park, her clothes were plastered to her skin, her hair a sodden mess. The 3-floor walk-up she shared with Sophie seemed especially depressing today. The peeling paint on the stairwell, the flickering light on the second floor, the constant smell of someone cooking with too much garlic, all of it seemed to mock her dreams of escaping to something better. She unlocked the door to find Sophie in the kitchen, arranging cheese on a platter, a bottle of cheap champagne on the counter. Her roommate looked up with a bright smile that faltered when she saw Olivia's bedraggled state. "Oh my God, what happened?" Sophie abandoned the cheese, rushing over to Olivia, who stood dripping on their worn welcome mat. "Did you fall in a puddle?" Olivia tried to answer, but all that came out was a choked sob. "Oh, honey." Sophie wrapped her arms around her, wet clothes and all. "That bad, huh?" "Worse," Olivia managed. "So much worse." Sophie led her to the couch, disappeared briefly, and returned with a towel and their emergency bottle of wine, the slightly more expensive one they saved for true disasters. "Spill," she said, uncorking the bottle while Olivia toweled off her hair. And Olivia did. The whole humiliating story, from the wait to the dismissive interview to the final career-ending slap. When she finished, Sophie sat in stunned silence for a moment before saying, "You slapped William Thornfield Jr.? The William Thornfield Jr.? Chicago's most eligible bachelor? Is that really the part you're focusing on?" "Sorry, but..." "Wow." Sophie poured them each a generous glass of wine. "That's legendary. That's unemployment. Possibly a lawsuit." Olivia accepted the wine gratefully. "What am I going to do, Soph? I can't even pay next month's rent without my job. And who's going to hire me after this gets out?" "First of all, breathe," Sophie advised. "Second, your current job doesn't know what happened, right? So you're not unemployed yet. It's a small industry. Word travels fast. Maybe. But until it does, you're still employed, and maybe this won't be as bad as you think." Olivia gave her a skeptical look. "I physically assaulted the heir to a media empire. How could it possibly not be that bad?" Sophie shrugged. "Maybe he deserved it. Sounds like he was being a real jerk. That doesn't justify hitting him." Olivia groaned, covering her face with her hands. "What was I thinking?" "You weren't. You were feeling. Big difference." Sophie topped off their glasses. "Look, what's done is done. You can't change it. All you can do now is damage control." "How? Send an apology bouquet? Sorry I slapped your entitled face." Sophie snorted wine through her nose, which made Olivia laugh despite herself. For a moment they giggled together, like they used to in college, before real-world pressures had made everything so serious. "Maybe a written apology," Sophie suggested once they'd calmed down. "Not for your career, that bridge is probably napalmed, but for your conscience. You're not a violent person. It might help you move on." Olivia nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right." They spent the rest of the evening drinking wine, eating the celebration cheese that had become consolation cheese, and watching terrible reality TV. Sophie, bless her, didn't bring up the interview again, seeming to understand that Olivia needed a mental break from the catastrophe. It was nearly midnight when Olivia finally dragged herself to her bedroom, the wine having dulled the sharp edges of her anxiety, but not erased it. Tomorrow, she decided. Tomorrow she would write that apology letter, go to work, and pretend that her world wasn't potentially crumbling around her. She fell into a fitful sleep, dreaming of elevators that never reached their destination and rain that turned to acid on her skin. Morning came too soon, grey light filtering through her thin curtains. Her head pounded. Too much wine, too little water. She forced herself out of bed, shuffling to the bathroom for aspirin and a shower. By the time she emerged, Sophie had left for her early shift at the hospital, where she worked as a nurse. There was a note on the kitchen counter next to a cup of coffee in Olivia's favourite mug. "You're stronger than you think. Call me if you need anything. Love you. S." The coffee was cold, but the gesture warmed her. She microwaved it, sipping slowly as she tried to gather her thoughts. Work didn't start until 9, which gave her time to draft that apology letter Sophie had suggested. She sat at their tiny kitchen table with her laptop, staring at the blank document for a full 5 minutes before beginning to type. "Dear Mr. Thornfield, I would like to apologize for my inexcusable behavior during our interview yesterday. There is no justification for physical violence, regardless of the circumstances. My actions were unprofessional and wrong. While I cannot undo what happened, I want you to know that I deeply regret losing control of my emotions. This behavior is not reflective of who I am as a person or a professional. I understand that no apology can erase what happened, but I felt it necessary to express my sincere regret. Respectfully, Olivia Bennett." She read it over, decided it was as good as it was going to get, and printed it out. She'd mail it on her way to work. Maybe it wouldn't make any difference in the grand scheme of things, but Sophie was right. It would help her conscience. As she was sealing the envelope, a knock sounded at the door. Olivia frowned. It was barely 7:30 in the morning. Who would be visiting at this hour? She peeked through the peephole to see a courier in uniform, holding a large envelope. Opening the door, she said, "Can I help you?" "Delivery for Olivia Bennett," the courier replied, holding out an electronic signature pad. "Sign here, please." Bewildered, she signed and accepted the envelope. It was heavy, cream-colored, expensive-looking, with her name and address written in elegant calligraphy. No return address. She closed the door and turned the envelope over in her hands, a sense of foreboding washing over her. There was only one person who might be sending her something today, and she doubted it was good news. Taking a deep breath, she opened it. Inside was a single sheet of heavy paper, the Thornfield Enterprises letterhead embossed in gold at the top. Her hands trembled as she read, "Ms. Bennett, your presence is requested at Thornfield Estate this Saturday at 7 p.m. for dinner. A car will collect you at 6:30. Dress formally. William Thornfield Sr." Olivia sank into a chair, her legs suddenly weak. Not a lawsuit, not a restraining order, an invitation from William Thornfield Sr. himself. But why? And more importantly, what would happen if she went? "You're going, right? Or going?" Sophie stood in Olivia's doorway Saturday evening, watching as her roommate paced the small bedroom. "I don't know," Olivia said for the 100th time. She'd spent the past 3 days oscillating between curiosity and dread. "It feels like walking into the lion's den." "A very fancy lion's den," Sophie reminded her, holding up the dress they'd borrowed from their friend Mia, a simple but elegant black number that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent. "Besides, what's the alternative? Ignore a summons from one of the most powerful men in Chicago." Olivia sighed. Sophie had a point. After receiving the invitation, she'd spent hours researching William Thornfield Sr., something she should have done more thoroughly before the interview. The man had a reputation for being ruthless in business but fair. He'd built Thornfield Enterprises from a small local agency to a global powerhouse through sheer force of will and uncommon creative vision. "What if it's just an elaborate setup to humiliate me?" Olivia asked, voicing her deepest fear. "What if Junior told Daddy I hit him, and this is their way of making me squirm before they destroy my career?" Sophie rolled her eyes. "If they wanted to destroy you, they wouldn't need to invite you to dinner. They could just make a few calls." She pushed the dress toward Olivia. "Get dressed. The car will be here in 30 minutes. With reluctance, Olivia slipped into the dress. It fit perfectly, highlighting her curves without being too revealing. Sophie helped with her makeup, keeping it simple but elegant, and twisted her dark hair into an updo that framed her face. "There," Sophie said, stepping back to admire her work. "If they're planning to destroy you, at least you'll look fabulous while they do it." Olivia laughed despite her nerves. "Thanks, I think." At precisely 6:30, her phone buzzed with a text. "Your car has arrived." Outside, a sleek black town car waited, a uniformed driver standing beside the rear door. He smiled politely as she approached. "Miss Bennet, I'm James. I'll be taking you to Thornfield Estate this evening." The drive took them north, along Lakeshore Drive, the city lights reflecting off Lake Michigan like scattered diamonds. They passed through the Gold Coast, then Evanston, and continued north into the wealthy suburbs where houses became mansions, set back from the road behind iron gates and manicured hedges. Thornfield Estate, when they arrived, took Olivia's breath away. It wasn't a mansion, it was a modern castle. Glass and stone rising from meticulously landscaped grounds, lit dramatically against the darkening sky. A circular driveway curved around a fountain where water danced in choreographed patterns. "We're here, Miss Bennet," James announced, pulling to a stop at the front entrance. "Mr. Thornfield is expecting you." Heart hammering, Olivia stepped out of the car. The massive front door opened before she reached it, revealing a woman in her 60s with silver hair and kind eyes. "Miss Bennet, welcome to Thornfield Estate. I'm Mrs. Hudson, the housekeeper. Please, come in." The foyer was a soaring space of marble and glass, with a spiral staircase winding up to a second-floor gallery. Modern art adorned the walls, not the generic pieces found in corporate offices, but bold, provocative works that spoke of personal taste and genuine appreciation. "May I take your wrap?" Mrs. Hudson asked. Olivia handed over her borrowed shawl, feeling increasingly out of place in this palace of wealth and privilege. "This way, please," Mrs. Hudson said, leading her through the foyer into a long hallway lined with photographs. Olivia slowed, drawn to the images. Not the formal corporate portraits she'd expected, but candid shots. A younger William Thornfield Sr., laughing with a beautiful dark-haired woman. A teenage boy who had to be Liam sitting on a dock, fishing. The same woman gardening, her face alight with joy. "That's Mrs. Thornfield," Mrs. Hudson said softly, noticing Olivia's interest. "She passed 10 years ago." "I'm sorry," Olivia murmured. "She was beautiful." "Inside and out," Mrs. Hudson agreed. "The heart of this family." She continued down the hall, adding over her shoulder, "You'll be dining in the small family dining room tonight." Small was relative, Olivia discovered, as they entered a room that could easily seat 12. A table for 4 was set near a wall of windows overlooking the lake, candles casting a warm glow over fine china and crystal. "Ah, our guest has arrived." Olivia turned to see William Thornfield Sr. entering from a side door. In person, he was taller than she'd expected, with the same dark hair as his son, now streaked with silver at the temples. His face was lined but handsome, his eyes sharp and assessing. "Miss Bennet," he said, approaching with his hand extended. "William Thornfield, thank you for accepting my invitation." His handshake was firm, his smile reserved but not unfriendly. Up close, the resemblance to his son was striking, though the elder Thornfield carried himself with an ease that spoke of complete self-assurance rather than arrogance. "Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Thornfield," Olivia managed, proud that her voice didn't betray her nerves. "Please call me William." "Mr. Thornfield makes me feel even older than I am." He gestured to a seating area by the fireplace. "Would you care for a drink before dinner? Wine? Something stronger?" "Wine would be lovely, thank you." He moved to a sideboard, pouring 2 glasses of red wine. "I understand you met my son recently." And there it was, the elephant in the room. Olivia took a steadying breath. "Yes, I did, Mr. Thornfield, about what happened." He raised a hand, stopping her. "We'll get to that. But first I'd like to know more about you. Your work is quite impressive." Olivia blinked in surprise. "You've seen my portfolio?" "Of course." He handed her a glass of wine, then took a seat across from her. "I review all final candidates for senior positions. Your campaign for Horizon Coffee was particularly noteworthy, increasing foot traffic by 30% while maintaining brand authenticity is no small feat." "You actually looked at my work," she said, before she could stop herself. Something flickered in his eyes. Understanding, perhaps. Unlike my son, you mean? Heat rushed to her cheeks. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He sipped his wine. Liam can be abrupt. A quality he inherited from me, I'm afraid, though I like to think I've learned to temper it over the years. Olivia didn't know how to respond. Was he apologizing for his son's behavior? Setting her up to admit fault? She opted for neutrality. The interview was not what I expected. William laughed, a rich sound that softened his imposing presence. I imagine not. Few people walk into Thornfield Enterprises and slap an executive. Fewer still walk out unescorted. I'm not proud of that moment, Olivia said quietly. I wrote an apology letter, actually. I was going to mail it the day your invitation arrived. May I ask what provoked such an uncharacteristic response? Your references describe you as even-tempered and diplomatic, not exactly the profile of someone who resorts to physical confrontation. She hesitated. The truth might offend him, but she suspected he would see through any attempt to sugarcoat what had happened. Your son dismissed my work without really looking at it, she said finally. He implied I was there for reasons other than my professional qualifications. When I defended myself, he suggested I couldn't handle criticism. She met his gaze directly. I lost my temper. It was unprofessional and inexcusable, regardless of the circumstances. William studied her for a long moment. Honest, good. I value honesty, Miss Bennet. Olivia, please. He nodded. Olivia. Tell me, what did you think of our Revolution Motors campaign? The same question Liam had asked. This time Olivia was prepared. Technically brilliant but emotionally disconnected. It showcased the car's features impressively but missed an opportunity to create desire, to make people feel something. Precisely what I told the team, William said, surprising her again. They didn't listen. The campaign was successful by most metrics, but it could have been transformative. He leaned forward. Do you know what Thornfield Enterprises' greatest weakness is, Olivia? She shook her head. Complacency. Success has made us risk-averse. We execute with precision, but lack the hunger, the emotional connection that drove our best work. He stood, moving to the window. I built this company on understanding how to make people feel, desire, nostalgia, aspiration. Somewhere along the way, we've lost that. Olivia frowned. With all due respect, you're the CEO. Couldn't you simply direct a change in approach? He turned back to her, a smile playing at his lips. Leadership isn't always about giving orders. Sometimes it's about creating the right conditions for change. He glanced at his watch. Our other guest should be arriving shortly. Other guest. Before Olivia could ask, the door opened, and Liam Thornfield walked in. He stopped short when he saw her, his expression cycling rapidly from surprise to anger to careful neutrality. He was even more handsome than she remembered, dressed in a charcoal suit that fit him perfectly. You didn't mention we'd have company, he said to his father, his voice cool. Didn't I? William replied innocently. How remiss of me. You remember Miss Bennet, of course. Liam's gaze shifted to Olivia, his jaw tightening. Vividly. The tension in the room was suddenly thick enough to cut. Olivia resisted the urge to fidget under his stare. Miss Bennet was just sharing her thoughts on the Revolution Motors campaign, William continued, seemingly oblivious to the undercurrents. She feels it lacked emotional resonance. I agree. We've had this conversation, Dad, Liam said, moving to the sideboard to pour himself a drink, something amber that he tossed back in one swallow. The campaign was a success by every measurable metric, and yet it didn't make the Super Bowl's top 10 most memorable ads, despite our considerable investment, William countered. When was the last time a Thornfield campaign truly moved people, made them feel something? Liam sighed, clearly an old argument. Feelings don't pay the bills. No. Not Nike or Apple or any brand with genuine loyalty if feelings pay the bills. William gestured to the dining table. Shall we eat? Mrs. Hudson has prepared her famous coq au vin. Dinner was an exercise in controlled tension. William kept the conversation flowing, expertly navigating between safe topics and pointed questions about advertising philosophy. Olivia found herself relaxing despite Liam's frosty demeanor, drawn into a fascinating discussion about the evolution of consumer engagement in the digital age. "The fundamental mistake most agencies make," William said as they finished the main course, "is treating digital platforms as mere extensions of traditional media. They're entirely different ecosystems with their own rules of engagement." "Exactly," Olivia agreed. "It's not about transferring a billboard concept to Instagram. It's about understanding how people interact with each platform emotionally." "People don't go to Instagram for information," Liam interjected, his first substantial contribution to the conversation. "They go for aspiration, for the life they wish they had." "Or connection," Olivia countered. "The most engaging content creates a sense of community, of shared experience. A point our latest pitch for Luna Cosmetics misses entirely," William noted, giving his son a meaningful look. Liam's expression tightened. "The concept is solid. It highlights the product benefits clearly and puts everyone to sleep," William finished. "It's safe, predictable, and utterly forgettable." An uncomfortable silence fell. Olivia took a sip of wine, wishing she could disappear. She'd somehow stumbled into a family disagreement that had nothing to do with her. "Perhaps," William said suddenly, "Miss Bennet could offer a fresh perspective. She has a knack for emotional connectivity, judging by her portfolio." Liam stared at his father. "You can't be serious." "Completely serious." "Olivia, would you be willing to look at our Luna pitch? Just as a professional courtesy, of course." Before she could answer, Liam pushed back from the table. "May I speak with you privately, Dad?" William nodded calmly. "Of course." "Olivia, would you excuse us for a moment? Feel free to enjoy the view from the terrace." He gestured to a set of French doors leading outside. Grateful for the escape, Olivia slipped out onto the terrace. The night air was cool but not unpleasant, the view of Lake Michigan spectacular with the moon creating a silver path across the dark water. Behind her, through the glass doors, she could see Liam gesturing animatedly while his father listened with implacable calm. What was she doing here? This dinner clearly wasn't about her apology or even potential legal action for the slap. Something else was happening, some dynamic between father and son that she didn't understand but had somehow become entangled in. The doors opened, and William stepped out. "I apologize for the interruption." "No need," she assured him. "It's a beautiful night." "Indeed." He joined her at the railing. "My late wife designed this terrace. Elena had an eye for creating spaces that both showcase and complement nature. She had excellent taste," Olivia said sincerely. "The whole house is beautiful." "Thank you." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "I have a proposition for you, Olivia." She turned to face him. "A proposition?" "Thornfield Enterprises is at a crossroads. We're successful, profitable, but creatively stagnant. We need fresh blood, new perspectives." He met her gaze. "I'd like to offer you a position, not as creative director, but as special projects lead, reporting directly to me." Olivia stared at him, stunned. "After what happened with your son, Mr. Thornfield, William," he corrected gently. "And yes, perhaps even because of what happened. It takes courage to stand up for your work, to challenge someone in a position of power. That's exactly what Thornfield needs right now." "I'm not sure Liam would agree," she said carefully. "Liam will come around, or he won't. Either way, the decision is mine." He named a salary that made Olivia's eyes widen, nearly double what she currently made. Plus benefits, of course. Full medical, dental, generous retirement matching. It was the answer to all her financial problems, her father's medical bills, her student loans, the constant struggle to make rent. But something didn't feel right. Why me? There must be dozens of more qualified candidates. Qualifications aren't just about experience or education. They're about perspective, instinct, hunger. He smiled. "And very few candidates make quite the impression you did. My son hasn't stopped talking about you, complaining certainly, but talking nonetheless. I'm not sure that's a good thing. It's an extraordinary thing. Liam is usually indifferent to people. You provoked a reaction. He pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to her. Think about it. Call me by Monday with your decision. Before she could respond, the French doors opened again and Liam appeared. Car's ready whenever Miss Bennet wishes to leave. His tone made it clear he hoped that would be immediately. William sighed. My son forgets his manners sometimes. Perhaps you'd like coffee and dessert before departing. Thank you, but it's getting late, Olivia said, sensing an escape route from this increasingly surreal evening. I should be going. Of course, I'll have James bring the car around. William took her hand. Thank you for coming tonight, Olivia. I look forward to your call. Liam remained silent as his father went inside, leaving them alone on the terrace. The silence stretched, uncomfortable and charged. Your father offered me a job, Olivia said finally, unable to bear the tension. I heard. His voice was flat. Special projects lead. I haven't accepted. But you will. It wasn't a question. I don't know, she said honestly. It's complicated. He laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. Because you slapped me? That's not complicated, Miss Bennet. That's assault. I've apologized for that. Not to me, you haven't. He was right. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Mr. Thornfield. My behavior was inexcusable, regardless of the circumstances. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, perhaps, at her directness. Accepted. Another silence fell, less hostile but still awkward. Why did you dismiss my portfolio without really looking at it? The question slipped out before she could stop it. He studied her for a long moment. You want the truth? Because I'd already decided to hire someone else. The interview was a formality. Then why did you ask me about the Revolution Motors campaign? Professional curiosity. Your answer was unexpected. Unexpected good or unexpected bad? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Unexpected honest. Most candidates tell me what they think I want to hear. William reappeared at the doors. Your car is ready, Olivia. She nodded, relieved and disappointed at the interruption. Thank you for dinner. It was illuminating. The pleasure was mine, William replied. Liam, perhaps you'd escort our guest to her car. It wasn't really a request. With obvious reluctance, Liam gestured for her to precede him through the house. They walked in silence through the now dimmed hallways. At the front door, Mrs. Hudson appeared with Olivia's shawl. It was lovely to meet you, Miss Bennet, the housekeeper said warmly. I do hope we'll see you again. Outside, the night had grown cooler. James stood by the town car, door open. Liam walked Olivia down the steps, maintaining a careful distance between them. Miss Bennet, he said as they reached the car, his voice low. About the job offer. She paused, one foot already in the car. Yes? Don't accept it. She blinked in surprise. Excuse me? It's not what you think it is. His face was half in shadow, unreadable. My father has an agenda. You'd be walking into a minefield. What kind of agenda? He shook his head. Just think very carefully before you accept. Before she could press for more, he stepped back, giving James a nod. The driver closed her door, and moments later they were moving down the driveway, leaving Liam Thornfield standing alone in the pool of light from the entrance. Olivia settled back against the leather seat, mind spinning. What had just happened? What kind of agenda could William Thornfield have that would prompt his son to warn her away? And why offer her the job at all, given what had happened? The business card William had given her seemed to burn in her clutch. Special projects lead. A chance to solve her financial problems, to work at one of the most prestigious agencies in the country, to make a real difference in her career. But at what cost? As the car wound its way back toward the city, Olivia stared out at the darkness, more confused than ever. One thing was certain. Whatever decision she made on Monday would change the course of her life, for better or worse. What she didn't know was that another letter was already on its way to her apartment, one that would make her decision far more complicated than she could possibly imagine. Olivia returned to her apartment just before midnight, her mind still reeling from the evening's events. The lights were off. Sophie must be working the night shift at the hospital. She kicked off her borrowed heels with a sigh of relief and headed for the kitchen, desperate for a glass of water and a moment to process everything. As she flipped on the light, she noticed an envelope on the counter, her name written in an elegant masculine script she didn't recognize. Not William Thornfield's calligraphy from the dinner invitation, but similar in its confidence. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. "Miss Bennet, I apologize for the abruptness of this communication. There are matters regarding my father's offer that require discussion away from Thornfield Estate. If you're willing, meet me tomorrow at Lakeside Park, near the boathouse, at 10 a.m. This is not an attempt to dissuade you from accepting the position, merely to ensure you have all the facts before making your decision. Liam Thornfield." Olivia read the note twice, then sank onto a kitchen stool. First a dinner invitation from the father, now a clandestine meeting request from the son. What had she stumbled into? She pulled out her phone and texted Sophie, "You won't believe what happened tonight. And now there's a new development. Call when your shift ends?" Sleep proved elusive. Olivia tossed and turned, her mind cycling through the evening's conversations, searching for clues about William's agenda and why Liam felt compelled to warn her. By morning, she'd made up her mind to meet him. Whatever was happening at Thornfield Enterprises, she deserved to know before accepting or declining the position. Lakeside Park was busy with weekend joggers and families when Olivia arrived. She spotted Liam immediately. It was hard to miss him in his casual but expensive-looking attire, standing apart from the weekend crowds, staring out at the water. He turned as she approached, his expression unreadable. "You came." "Your note was intriguing," she replied. Hard to resist a mystery. A hint of a smile touched his lips. "Walk with me?" They moved along the lakeshore path, maintaining a careful distance from each other. For several minutes neither spoke. Finally, Olivia broke the silence. "So, this agenda your father has—" Liam glanced at her. "Direct. I appreciate that." He slowed his pace. "What did my father tell you about the special project's lead position?" "Just that it would report directly to him and focus on bringing fresh perspective to Thornfield's work." Liam nodded. "What he didn't tell you is that it's a position he created specifically for you, and that your primary responsibility would be working on accounts that are currently under my direction." Olivia stopped walking. "He's setting me up to compete with you, his own son?" "Not compete, replace." Liam's voice was matter-of-fact, but Olivia could sense the underlying tension. "My father believes Thornfield Enterprises has lost its edge under my leadership. He's been looking for someone to challenge the status quo. And he thinks I'm that person because I slapped you?" "Because you stood up to me," Liam corrected. "And because your perspective on advertising aligns with his vision, emotional connection over technical execution." Olivia processed this information. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because my father is using you as a pawn in our family drama, and you deserve to know that." He ran a hand through his hair, a surprisingly vulnerable gesture. "Look, Miss Bennet." "Olivia," she interrupted. "If we're discussing family drama, you might as well use my first name." "Olivia," he conceded. "My father built Thornfield Enterprises on intuition and emotional appeal. It worked in the 80s and 90s, but the market has changed. Data-driven campaigns deliver measurable results. That's the direction I've been taking the company, at the expense of creating genuine connections with consumers." His jaw tightened. "You sound like him. Is that such a bad thing? Your father is a legend in advertising. He's also stuck in the past." Liam turned to face her fully. "The job he's offering you isn't really about you or your talents. It's about proving me wrong." A jogger passed by, forcing them to step closer together. Olivia caught the scent of his cologne, the same woodsy fragrance from the interview, and found herself momentarily distracted. "If I'm so wrong," Liam continued, oblivious to her reaction, "why are our profits up 17% since I took over creative direction? Short-term gains can mask long-term erosion of brand loyalty," Olivia countered, recovering her composure. "Now you're definitely quoting my father. Actually, that's from my thesis on sustainable brand engagement." He looked surprised, then almost impressed. "You wrote a thesis on brand loyalty? MBA Northwestern. Did you even read my resume?" Clearly not thoroughly enough. He started walking again, and she fell into step beside him. "So, knowing all this, will you take the job?" It was the question she'd been wrestling with all night. "I don't know. On one hand, it's an incredible opportunity. On the other, I'm not comfortable being used as a weapon in a family power struggle." That's a surprisingly reasonable response. "Did you expect me to jump at the chance to help take you down?" The thought had crossed my mind. Olivia laughed. "I may have slapped you, Mr. Thornfield, but I'm not vindictive by nature." "Liam," he said quietly, "if I'm using your first name, you might as well use mine." They reached a bench overlooking the water and sat, still maintaining careful distance. "Can I ask you something personal?" Olivia ventured. "You can ask. What happened between you and your father, beyond different philosophies of advertising?" Liam was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Finally he said, "My mother died 10 years ago. Cancer. She was the heart of our family, the one who kept my father and me from killing each other." He stared out at the water. "After she died, he threw himself into work. So did I. We grieved separately, grew further apart. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's ancient history." But his voice betrayed him. "When I took over creative direction 5 years ago, he promised to step back, let me lead. But he can't let go. Every decision, every campaign, he questions, criticizes, undermines." "Maybe he's afraid of becoming irrelevant," Olivia suggested gently. "Of being forgotten." Liam looked at her sharply. "That's insightful. My father was a professor before his stroke. Now he can barely form sentences. He says the hardest part is feeling like his contributions don't matter anymore." Understanding passed between them, a moment of unexpected connection. "Your father's medical bills," Liam said. "That's why you need the job." Olivia nodded. "His care facility costs more than my rent. Insurance only covers part of it. And my father's offering you double your current salary." Liam looked away. "Now I feel like an ass for asking you to turn it down." "You were being honest. I appreciate that." They sat in surprisingly comfortable silence, watching a sailboat glide across the lake. "What if there was another option?" Liam said suddenly. "What do you mean?" "Work with me instead of against me." He turned to face her. "I could use someone who sees things differently, who challenges my perspective without trying to replace it." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm suggesting an alternative. Same position, same salary, but reporting to me rather than my father. You'd still bring your perspective on emotional engagement, but within the framework of data-driven decision-making." "A compromise," Olivia mused. "Does your father know you're proposing this?" "Not yet, but he respects initiative." "And what about our history?" She gestured vaguely between them. "I did slap you." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Consider it our unconventional interview process." Olivia couldn't help but laugh. "Most people just do a second round of interviews." "We're not most people at Thornfield." His smile faded. "This isn't charity, Olivia. I've looked at your work. Really looked at it this time. You're talented. Your perspective could be valuable. But I need to know you're joining my team because you believe in the vision, not because of the paycheck." It was a fair question. Did she believe in his vision? Data-driven campaigns had their place, but without emotional resonance, they were just numbers. "I believe in balance," she said finally. "Data can tell us what people do, but not why they do it or how they feel while doing it." If we can marry your analytical approach with emotional storytelling, that's something I could believe in. Liam studied her, those intense eyes seeming to look straight through her defenses. Monday morning, 9 a.m. My office. We'll draw up a formal proposal for my father. I haven't said yes yet. Haven't you? He stood. Take the weekend to think about it. If you show up Monday, I'll have your answer. He walked away before she could respond, leaving Olivia on the bench with more questions than answers. Monday morning arrived with an unseasonable chill. Olivia stood outside Thornfield Enterprises, coffee in hand, staring up at the imposing glass tower. She'd spent the entire weekend weighing her options, talking through scenarios with Sophie, making lists of pros and cons. Working directly for William meant stepping into a family power struggle she didn't fully understand. Working for Liam meant daily interaction with a man who both intrigued and infuriated her, a man she'd physically assaulted less than a week ago. Decision time, she murmured to herself, taking a deep breath. The elevator ride to the 53rd floor seemed faster this time. The same severe receptionist nodded in recognition as Olivia approached. Miss Bennet for Mr. Thornfield, she said, then clarified. Junior. He's expecting you. Go right in. Liam's office door was open. He stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, his back to the door. He turned as she entered, surprise and something else, relief, flashing across his face. I'll call you back, he said to whoever was on the line, then ended the call. You came. I did. She set her coffee on his desk. I have conditions. His eyebrow quirked. Do you now? 3 of them. First, I need a contract that clearly outlines my role and responsibilities, reporting structure and performance metrics. Reasonable. He leaned against his desk. Second, I want to bring my assistant from Bloom. She's talented, loyal, and deserves a break. We have a hiring freeze. Make an exception. She's worth it. Liam considered this. I'll need to see her portfolio, but if she's qualified, I can make it happen. And your third condition, Olivia took a deep breath. Transparency. No hidden agendas, no using me as a pawn in your family drama. We work together honestly or not at all. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, perhaps. Agreed, though I should warn you, transparency with my father isn't always possible. He plays his cards very close to the chest. I'm not asking for his transparency. I'm asking for yours. Their eyes locked, a silent negotiation of boundaries and expectations. Deal, he said finally, extending his hand. She hesitated before taking it, remembering their last close encounter in this office. His hand was warm, his grip firm but not dominating. Now, he said, releasing her hand and moving behind his desk, let's draft that proposal for my father. He'll be surprised. Pleasantly or unpleasantly? Liam's mouth curved into a genuine smile. With my father, those are often the same thing. They spent the morning crafting a proposal that balanced Liam's data-driven approach with Olivia's emphasis on emotional storytelling. It was surprisingly easy to work with him when he wasn't being defensive or dismissive. He was quick, intelligent, and occasionally even funny in a dry, understated way. By noon, they had a solid draft. Liam leaned back in his chair, stretching. Not bad. My father's in London until Wednesday, so we have time to refine it. London? Olivia frowned. He expected my answer today. He'll survive the suspense. Liam checked his watch. Hungry? We could get lunch, continue working through the details. It felt dangerously like a date, though Olivia knew it wasn't. Still, the prospect of sharing a meal with him outside the office made her unaccountably nervous. I should check in with my current job, she hedged. I haven't exactly given notice yet. Right. Was that disappointment in his voice? Of course. Tomorrow then? Same time? Tomorrow, she agreed, gathering her notes. At the door she paused. Liam? Thank you for the warning about your father's agenda. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. His expression was serious. Despite what you might think of me, I do have some principles. She smiled. I'm beginning to see that. Indeed, The week passed in a blur of meetings, draft revisions, and getting-to-know-you conversations that revealed a very different Liam Thornfield than the one she'd first encountered. This Liam was still demanding and occasionally abrupt, but also thoughtful, wickedly smart, and possessed of a self-deprecating humor she found increasingly charming. By Wednesday, they'd refined their proposal into something they both believed in. A new approach that maintained Thornfield's data-driven success while reintroducing the emotional storytelling that had made the agency legendary. "My father lands at 2, Liam said as they made final tweaks. "He'll want to meet with you immediately." "With us," Olivia corrected. "This is our proposal." Something warm flickered in his eyes. "Our proposal, I like the sound of that." The moment was interrupted by Liam's phone. He glanced at it, frowning. "It's my father's assistant. He's already landed." He answered, his expression growing more troubled as he listened. "I see. Yes, we'll be right there." He ended the call, looking at Olivia with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Change of plans. My father wants to see us both now, and he's not alone." "Who's with him?" "Victor Hayes, CEO of Luna Cosmetics." Liam stood, straightening his tie. "Our biggest potential client. The one whose pitch you said I'd be walking into a minefield with." "The very same." He gathered their proposal. "Apparently my father told him about you. Hayes wants to meet the woman who, and I quote, had the guts to stand up to a Thornfield." "Is that good or bad?" "With Hayes, hard to tell." Liam held the door for her. "He's brilliant, eccentric, and notoriously difficult to impress." As they walked to the conference room, Liam leaned closer. "Whatever happens in there, follow my lead. Hayes can be unpredictable." "I thought we agreed on transparency," she reminded him. "We did, but my father clearly has something up his sleeve, and I'd rather not be blindsided in front of a $20 million client." The conference room doors loomed ahead. Olivia could hear voices inside, William's measured tones and another man's more animated speech. Liam's hand touched the small of her back briefly. "Ready?" The simple contact sent an unexpected shiver up her spine. "As I'll ever be." He opened the door, and they stepped into what would become either the greatest opportunity of Olivia's career or its spectacular end. William Thornfield Sr. was holding court when Liam and Olivia entered the conference room. Beside him sat a lean man in his 60s with steel-grey hair and piercing blue eyes, Victor Hayes, founder and CEO of Luna Cosmetics. "Ah, here they are," William said, rising to his feet. "Victor, this is Olivia Bennett, the creative talent I mentioned." Hayes appraised Olivia with unnerving intensity. "So you're the one who slapped Junior here." Gutsy move. Heat rushed to Olivia's cheeks. "Not my finest professional moment, Mr. Hayes. Call me Victor, and don't apologize. I've wanted to slap him myself after some of the presentations he's given." Liam's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "Always a pleasure, Victor." William gestured to the empty chairs. "Join us. Victor has a proposition." As they sat, Olivia sensed tension crackling between father and son. Whatever William had planned, Liam clearly hadn't been consulted. "I'll cut to the chase," Hayes said, leaning forward. "William tells me you have a fresh perspective on advertising, Ms. Bennett. One that emphasizes emotional connection over data points." "I believe both have their place," Olivia answered carefully. "Data informs strategy, but emotional resonance drives consumer loyalty." Hayes nodded approvingly. "Exactly what I've been telling your team for months." He shot Liam a pointed look. "The pitch your agency presented was technically sound but emotionally sterile. My products make women feel beautiful, confident, seen. Where was that in your concept?" "Our research indicated that Luna customers prioritize efficacy and value," Liam replied. "The campaign addressed those priorities directly." "Research." Hayes waved dismissively. "My grandmother didn't build Luna on research. She built it by understanding how women feel about themselves." William cleared his throat. "Which brings us to Victor's proposition. He's agreed to give Thornfield one more shot at the Luna account, with a twist. What kind of twist? Liam asked, wariness evident in his voice. Hayes smiled. A competition. 2 teams, 2 pitches. Team 1, you, Junior, with your data-driven approach. Team 2, Ms. Bennett, with her focus on emotional connection. Olivia blinked in surprise. Me? But I don't even work here yet. Consider this your audition, William said smoothly. Victor will choose the winning concept, and that team will lead the Luna account. And if my team wins, Liam asked, then Ms. Bennett works under your direction, as you've apparently been proposing behind my back. William's tone was mild, but his eyes were sharp. Yes, I know about your little coup attempt. It wasn't a coup, Liam protested. It was a compromise. And if Ms. Bennett wins? Hayes asked. William smiled. Then she takes over as creative director for the Luna account, reporting directly to me. The room fell silent. Olivia glanced at Liam, whose face had gone carefully blank. This is ridiculous, Liam finally said. We can't develop competing pitches within the same agency. Why not? Hayes seemed delighted by the idea. Internal competition breeds excellence. You have 1 week. Presentations next Wednesday, 10 a.m. 1 week isn't enough time to develop a comprehensive campaign, Liam argued. It's plenty of time to develop a concept, Hayes countered. I don't need all the bells and whistles. I need a vision that captures the essence of Luna. William stood, effectively ending the discussion. It's settled then. Olivia, you'll have access to all the Luna research and a small team at your disposal. Liam, you can use your existing team. He extended his hand to Hayes. Thank you for this opportunity, Victor. After Hayes departed, William turned to them. Questions? Several, Liam said tightly, beginning with why you're setting up this circus. Because our original pitch failed, and Victor was ready to walk. William's tone hardened. This agency was built on creative excellence, not just market research. It's time we remembered that. By pitting your son against a woman who doesn't even work here yet, how is that fair to either of us? Life isn't fair, William replied. Business even less so. He turned to Olivia. Unless you're not up for the challenge? The question hung in the air. Olivia knew she was being manipulated, placed in an impossible position. Decline, and she'd lose her shot at Thornfield entirely. Accept, and she'd be thrust into direct competition with Liam, destroying their nascent working relationship. She glanced at Liam, saw the mixture of anger and resignation in his eyes. He thought she'd accept, take his father's side. Everyone in his life eventually did. With respect, Mr. Thornfield, she said carefully, I don't believe this approach serves Luna or Thornfield. Creative excellence comes from collaboration, not conflict. William raised an eyebrow. Noble sentiment, but this isn't about nobility, it's about proving your vision. My vision includes recognizing others' strengths. She looked directly at Liam. Liam's analytical approach has value. My emotional perspective has value. Together they're more powerful than either alone. So you're declining. William's disappointment was palpable. I'm counter-proposing. Olivia straightened her shoulders. 1 team. Liam and I co-lead. We integrate both approaches and present a unified concept that's stronger than either of us could create individually. Liam stared at her in obvious surprise. William studied her for a long moment. And if I insist on the original arrangement? Then I respectfully decline the opportunity. The room fell silent. William's expression was unreadable as he considered her words. Interesting, he said finally. You're either very principled or very foolish. He turned to his son. And you? What do you think of Miss Bennett's counter-proposal? Liam looked at Olivia, something shifting in his gaze. I think it has merit. Do you now? William's tone was skeptical. You're willing to share creative control? That would be a first. If it serves the client better, yes. William paced to the window, hands clasped behind his back. For several tense moments, he said nothing. Then, abruptly, very well, co-lead the pitch. But understand this, if you fail, you both lose. Victor doesn't give third chances. With that, he left the room, leaving Liam and Olivia alone in stunned silence. "Why did you do that?" Liam asked finally. "You could have had my job." "I don't want your job," Olivia replied honestly. "I want to do great work with people who challenge me to be better." Something softened in his expression. "Even if one of those people is an entitled ass who dismissed your portfolio without looking at it," she smiled. "People can change, or so I'm told. Don't be too sure." But there was a warmth in his voice that hadn't been there before. "We have 1 week to create something extraordinary. Still think collaboration is better than competition? Guess we'll find out." The next 7 days were the most intense of Olivia's professional life. She and Liam commandeered a small conference room, turning it into their war room, walls covered with research data, consumer insights, competitor analyses, and emerging concept boards. Their working styles clashed initially. Liam wanted structure, detailed schedules, assigned roles. Olivia preferred creative fluidity, brainstorming, and intuitive leaps. Their first 2 days were filled with heated debates that sometimes veered into personal territory. "That's the problem with your approach," Liam argued during a particularly tense moment. "It's all feeling, no substance." "And yours is all substance, no soul," Olivia shot back. "Luna isn't selling face cream. They're selling how women feel when they use it. Feelings don't matter if the product fails to deliver. The product won't get a chance to deliver if the emotional promise doesn't connect." They glared at each other across the table, at an impasse again. "This isn't working," Liam said finally, running a hand through his hair. "Maybe my father was right. Maybe we can't collaborate. Or maybe we're going about it all wrong," Olivia suggested. "We're trying to blend 2 different approaches instead of leveraging each for its strengths." "Meaning?" "Meaning we start with your data. What does it tell us about Luna customers? Not just demographics, but psychographics. What do they value? What motivates them? Then we use my approach to translate those insights into emotional connections." Liam considered this. A structured emotional appeal. Exactly. Data-informed storytelling. Something shifted between them that day. Instead of opponents, they became partners, each bringing their unique strengths to the table. Liam's analytical mind identified key consumer motivations: authenticity, self-acceptance, confidence. Olivia translated these into emotional territories: celebration of natural beauty, rejection of impossible standards, courage to be visible. They worked late into the evenings, ordering takeout and sometimes not leaving until midnight. On the 3rd night, they discovered a shared love of Thai food and obscure indie films. On the 4th, Liam revealed that his mother had used Luna products, which gave him a personal connection to the brand he'd never acknowledged. "She used to say beauty wasn't about hiding flaws. It was about highlighting what makes you unique," he told Olivia, as they sat surrounded by concept boards at 11 p.m., empty coffee cups littering the table. "That's it," Olivia said, suddenly energized. "That's our concept. Uniquely beautiful. Not about perfection, but celebration." Liam's eyes lit up. "A campaign that showcases real women embracing what makes them unique, using Luna products not to conform, but to express." "Exactly. Data shows women are tired of unattainable standards. This addresses that desire authentically, while highlighting Luna's heritage as a brand that honors individuality." They worked feverishly after that breakthrough, the concept flowing naturally from their combined perspectives. By day 6, they had a comprehensive presentation that married Liam's strategic rigor with Olivia's emotional storytelling. The night before the presentation, they did a final run-through. When they finished, Liam looked at Olivia with genuine admiration. "This is good," he said. "Really good. Better than either of us could have done alone," she agreed. "My father might have been right after all," Liam admitted reluctantly. "Not about replacing me, but about needing your perspective. And I needed your structure and analysis," Olivia acknowledged. "We make a good team." And their eyes met across the table, and something electric passed between them. a recognition of mutual respect that had somehow, over the course of a week, evolved into something more complicated. Liam cleared his throat. "We should get some rest. Big day tomorrow." "Right." Olivia gathered her notes, suddenly flustered. "See you in the morning." She barely slept that night, her mind cycling between the presentation and the way Liam had looked at her, like he was seeing her, really seeing her for the first time. The lunar presentation room was packed the next morning. William and Victor sat at the center of the conference table, surrounded by executives from both companies. Olivia wore her best suit, still modest by Thornfield standards, but professional and confident. Liam, impeccable as always, gave her a reassuring nod as they set up. "Nervous?" he asked quietly. "Terrified," she admitted. "You?" "Strangely, no." He smiled slightly. "I trust our work. I trust you." Those simple words steadied her more than any pep talk could have. William called the meeting to order. "Liam, Olivia, the floor is yours." They launched into their presentation, moving seamlessly between Liam's strategic overview and Olivia's creative narrative. Their concept, uniquely beautiful, unfolded through a series of authentic stories about real women, each highlighting how lunar products enhanced, rather than masked, their distinctive features. "Our research shows that 78% of women feel beauty advertising sets impossible standards," Liam explained, presenting the data that formed their foundation. "Which is why Uniquely Beautiful celebrates what makes each woman distinctive," Olivia continued. "Luna becomes not just a cosmetic choice, but a statement of self-acceptance and confidence." As they concluded, the room fell silent. Victor Hayes studied them, his expression unreadable. William's face showed surprise and something that might have been pride. "Questions?" Liam asked into the silence. "Just one," Hayes said, leaning forward. "This concept, it's powerful, authentic, exactly what Luna stands for, but it's also a significant departure from your previous pitch. What changed?" Liam and Olivia exchanged glances. "Perspective," Liam answered. "I've always approached campaigns from a data-first position. Olivia helped me see that data without emotional context is meaningless. And I've learned that emotion without strategic foundation is just sentiment," Olivia added. "This concept emerged from the balance of both approaches." Hayes nodded slowly, then looked at William. "You were right. They are better together." He stood, extending his hand first to Liam, then Olivia. "Congratulations. Luna is staying with Thornfield. I want to see this campaign developed fully, with both of you leading it." The room erupted in applause. Team members congratulated each other, relief and excitement palpable. William approached them as the room began to clear. "Impressive work, both of you." "Thank you," Liam said stiffly. "Though I'm curious, was this your plan all along, to force us to work together?" William's smile was enigmatic. "Would it matter if it was?" "It would to me," Olivia said. "I don't appreciate being manipulated, even with good intentions." "Fair enough." William considered them both. "Let's just say I recognize something in your dynamic that reminded me of another creative partnership, one that built this company." "You and Mom," Liam said quietly. William nodded. "Elena was all heart. I was all head. Together, we were unstoppable." He looked between them. "Sound familiar?" Before either could respond, William's assistant appeared, reminding him of another meeting. He left them with a parting shot. "The special projects lead position is still open, Olivia, but I think you've found where you belong." Alone in the conference room, Liam turned to Olivia. "So, partners?" "Partners," she agreed, "though your father still thinks he orchestrated everything." "Let him." Liam smiled, a genuine warm smile that transformed his face. "Some things even William Thornfield can't control." "Like what?" His eyes held hers. "Like the fact that somewhere between hating you and respecting you, I started to—" A knock interrupted them. The door opened to reveal Liam's assistant. "Sorry to interrupt, but the Luna team needs to discuss timeline details." "We'll be right there," Liam said, not taking his eyes off Olivia. You started to what? She asked when they were alone again. I'll tell you over dinner, he replied. Tonight, to celebrate our victory? Olivia smiled. Is this a date, Mr. Thornfield? That depends, Miss Bennet. Are you still planning to slap me if I say the wrong thing? I guess you'll have to risk it to find out. Their laughter echoed in the empty conference room, a new beginning neither had expected from that fateful interview just 2 weeks ago. What Olivia didn't know was that William Thornfield was watching them from his office window, a satisfied smile on his face. Phase 1 of his plan had succeeded beyond his expectations. Now for Phase 2, but that would require a more delicate touch, and perhaps a little help from an unexpected ally. Olivia stared at her closet with growing frustration. It's not a date, she told Sophie for the 3rd time. It's a professional celebration. At altitude, Sophie countered, referring to Chicago's most exclusive rooftop restaurant. With a man who looks like that? It's a date. He's my boss. Co-lead, Sophie corrected. Different dynamic. She pulled out a navy dress Olivia had bought on sale last year, but never worn. This, sophisticated but not trying too hard. 2 hours later, Olivia found herself in an elevator, ascending to the 60th floor of the spire, heart racing in a way that had nothing to do with the height. The doors opened to reveal Altitude's stunning glass-enclosed space, the Chicago skyline glittering beyond. Liam was already there, standing at the hostess station. He turned as she approached, and something in his expression made her pulse quicken. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "Thank you." She took in his tailored charcoal suit. "You clean up pretty well yourself." The hostess led them to a corner table with panoramic views, a bottle of champagne waited in an ice bucket. Presumptuous, Olivia noted as they sat. Optimistic, Liam countered with a smile. The champagne was poured, a toast made to their successful partnership. As they settled into conversation, Olivia found herself relaxing. Outside the office, Liam was different. Still intense, still occasionally arrogant, but also funny and surprisingly candid. "I was wrong about you," he admitted over their entrees, "not just professionally." "Oh," she raised an eyebrow. "Do tell. I thought you were just another creative who prioritized style over substance. I didn't understand that your approach actually had more substance than mine, just a different kind. And I thought you were a data robot with no soul," she countered with a smile. "Turns out you just keep it well hidden." His laugh was genuine. "My mother always said I needed to let people see the real me more often." Smart woman. She would have liked you. His eyes held hers. Probably would have told me I was an idiot for antagonizing you in that interview. She wouldn't be wrong. Their laughter mingled, comfortable and warm. The evening flowed effortlessly, discussions of work giving way to personal histories, shared perspectives, discovered commonalities. By dessert, Olivia felt as though she'd known him for years rather than weeks. "You never finished what you were saying earlier," she reminded him as they shared a chocolate souffle. "After the presentation, you started to say something about hating me, then respecting me, then—" Liam set down his spoon, his expression turning serious. "I started to see you differently, as more than a colleague." The air between them seemed to thicken. "And how do you see me now?" "As someone I'd like to know better, outside of work." "We're outside of work now," she pointed out. "True." His smile returned. "And I'm enjoying it more than I expected." The moment was interrupted by Liam's phone buzzing. He glanced at it, frowning. "It's my father. I should take this." Olivia nodded, watching as he stepped away to answer. His expression darkened as he listened, his posture stiffening. When he returned, the easy warmth of moments before had vanished. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Fine." His tone suggested otherwise, just some family business. The remainder of the evening carried a subtle tension. Liam made efforts to recapture their earlier rapport, but something had shifted. When he walked her to her door at the end of the night, his goodbye was polite but distant. "Thank you for tonight," Olivia said, searching his face for clues to his changed mood. "The pleasure was mine." He hesitated, then added, "I'll see you Monday." No kiss, no suggestion of another evening together, just see you Monday. Professional, impersonal. Confused and disappointed, Olivia watched him walk away, wondering what William Thornfield had said to cause such a dramatic shift. Monday brought more confusion. Liam was cordial but reserved in their morning meeting, focused entirely on the lunar project timeline. The personal connection they'd begun to forge seemed to have evaporated over the weekend. "Did I miss something?" Olivia finally asked when they were alone. "Friday night, Friday was a mistake," Liam interrupted. "I shouldn't have blurred the lines between professional and personal." "A mistake," she repeated, the word stinging more than she wanted to admit. "We worked together, Olivia. Anything more would be complicated." "Right. Of course." She gathered her notes, professional mask firmly in place. "The lunar presentation boards need revisions. I'll have them to you by 3. She walked out before he could respond, maintaining her composure until she reached the women's restroom. There she leaned against the sink, fighting a wave of disappointment that surprised her with its intensity. When had Liam Thornfield started to matter so much? The answer came unbidden, somewhere between standing up to him and standing beside him, between challenging his perspective and appreciating his strengths, between that dinner and this moment. A knock on the restroom door interrupted her thoughts. "Miss Bennet, Mr. Thornfield Sr. would like to see you in his office." Perfect timing. Just what she needed, another Thornfield complication. William's office occupied the entire northwest corner of the 55th floor, with views of both the lake and the city. He greeted her warmly, gesturing to a seating area where, to her surprise, Victor Hayes waited. "Olivia, join us! Victor has some exciting news." Hayes stood, shaking her hand enthusiastically. "The Lunar Board loved your concept. So much that we want to expand it into a global campaign. Print, digital, television, the works." "That's wonderful," Olivia said, genuinely pleased despite her personal turmoil. "And we want you to lead it," Hayes continued. "In Milan." "Milan?" she echoed. William stepped in. "Lunar's European headquarters. They're launching a major expansion, and Victor believes your perspective would be valuable there. It's a 6-month assignment," Hayes explained, "overseeing the European rollout of Uniquely Beautiful, a tremendous opportunity." Olivia's mind raced. Milan, 6 months, away from Chicago, from her father's care facility, from Thornfield, from Liam. "This is unexpected," she managed. "But exciting, yes?" Hayes pressed. "We'd cover all expenses, of course. Apartment, transportation, plus a significant project bonus." The financial implications weren't lost on Olivia. 6 months of European salary and housing would allow her to pay off her father's medical bills and make a significant dent in her student loans. "When would this start?" she asked. 2 weeks, William answered. "Barely enough time to get your visa processed." "I'd need to think about it." "Of course," Hayes said, though his tone suggested he expected an easy yes. "We'll need your answer by Wednesday." After Hayes departed, William studied Olivia thoughtfully. "You don't seem as excited as I expected." "It's a lot to process," she hedged. "My father's care, my apartment lease, all manageable details." William waved dismissively. "The real question is whether you want to go. Is this your way of getting me out of your son's orbit?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. William's eyebrows rose. "Interesting assumption. Why would I want that?" "You tell me. Friday night Liam and I were—" She paused, unsure how to characterize it. "We were connecting. Then you called him and everything changed." Understanding dawned in William's eyes. "Ah, and you think I warned him off?" "Did you?" "No." His denial seemed genuine. "But I'm not surprised he pulled back." "Why?" William sighed, moving to the window. "Liam doesn't let people get close, not since his mother died, especially not women he works with." "Because of me?" "Because of Charlotte." The unfamiliar name hung in the air between them. Olivia waited. "Charlotte Reed," William elaborated. "Liam's former fiancée." Also his former creative director. I didn't know he was engaged. 4 years ago. It ended badly. She left him for a competitor, took half their team and 3 major accounts with her. William turned back to face Olivia. My son doesn't discuss it, but it left scars. Pieces clicked into place. Liam's initial suspicion of her, his reluctance to share creative control, his abrupt withdrawal after beginning to open up. He thinks history is repeating itself, she realized aloud. Perhaps. William's expression was unreadable. The Milan opportunity is genuine, Olivia. Your choice to accept or decline should be based on what's best for your career, not my son's emotional issues. She nodded, though her thoughts were in turmoil. I'll let you know by Wednesday. As she left William's office, her phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. Emergency at home. Water pipe burst. Apartment flooding. Come ASAP. The scene at her apartment was chaos, water pouring from the ceiling, their belongings soaked, Sophie and the building manager trying desperately to contain the damage. The upstairs neighbor's pipe burst while they were out of town, Sophie explained, hair dripping. They're saying it'll take at least 2 weeks to repair everything. 2 weeks. The same timeline as the Milan decision. Where are we supposed to live? Olivia asked, surveying the sodden ruins of their living room. Insurance will cover a hotel, the building manager assured them. But nothing in this neighborhood, not at these rates. By evening they had salvaged what they could and checked into a budget hotel 20 minutes from Olivia's office. As they sat on twin beds, surrounded by hastily packed bags, Olivia told Sophie about the Milan offer. You have to take it, Sophie said immediately. It's perfect timing. This apartment disaster is like the universe pushing you toward Italy. What about Dad? Olivia countered. I can't just leave him for 6 months. He has excellent care at the facility, and I can visit him regularly. Sophie's eyes softened. He'd want you to go, Liv. You know he would. Deep down, Olivia did know. Her father had always encouraged her ambitions, even after his stroke limited his ability to express himself. And what about... She hesitated. Liam? Sophie supplied with a knowing smile. The guy who went from hot date to cold shoulder in one night. Honestly, do you want to stick around for that emotional roller coaster? Put that way, the answer seemed clear. Milan offered professional advancement, financial security, and distance from a confusing personal situation. Yet something held her back. The memory of Liam's rare, genuine smile, the connection they'd forged during the Luna project, the way he'd looked at her across the candlelit table before that fateful phone call. I need to talk to him before I decide, she realized. Bad idea, Sophie warned. You'll let your feelings cloud your judgment. But Olivia's mind was made up. The next morning, she arrived at Thornfield early, determined to have an honest conversation with Liam before their scheduled team meeting. His office was dark when she arrived, unusual as he typically beat everyone to work. His assistant informed her he'd called in sick, even more unusual, as Liam was known for working through everything short of hospitalization. Is he okay? Olivia asked, concerned. He didn't say, the assistant replied, just that he's unreachable today. The team meeting proceeded without him, with Olivia leading the Luna discussions alone. By afternoon, a strange theory had formed in her mind, one so unlikely she almost dismissed it. But the timing was too coincidental. After work, she took a cab to the northern suburbs, directing the driver to the address she'd only visited once before, Thornfield Estate. Mrs. Hudson answered the door, surprised to see her. Miss Bennet, we weren't expecting you. I need to speak with Liam, Olivia said. Is he here? The housekeeper hesitated. He's not seeing visitors. He's sick. That's what he told the office. Well, yes, in a manner of speaking. Mrs. Hudson's expression was troubled. Perhaps you should come back another time. From inside the house came the sound of breaking glass, followed by a string of colorful expletives. Mrs. Hudson winced. That would be Mr. Liam, she explained, having a difficult day. Please, Olivia pressed. It's important. Mrs. Hudson studied her for a moment, then nodded reluctantly. He's in the library, Second floor, end of the hall. Don't say I didn't warn you. The library was a magnificent two-story room, lined with bookshelves and dominated by a massive stone fireplace. Liam stood before it, back to the door, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. At his feet lay the shattered remains of what appeared to be a crystal decanter. "I said no visitors, Mrs. Hudson," he said without turning. "She was quite insistent," Olivia replied. He whirled around, clearly startled. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" His appearance shocked her. Unshaven, hair disheveled, eyes bloodshot, a far cry from his usual impeccable self. "Checking on my sick colleague," she said, though hungover might be more accurate. "I'm fine," he said, turning away, "just taking a personal day." "Because you found out about Milan?" His shoulders stiffened. "What makes you think this has anything to do with you?" "Call it intuition." She stepped further into the room, carefully avoiding the broken glass. "Your father didn't tell you about the offer, did he? You found out some other way." "Hayes called to discuss logistics," Liam admitted, his voice tight. "Assumed I already knew. And instead of talking to me about it, you decided to, what? Drink yourself into oblivion? My coping mechanisms are none of your concern." He took another swallow of his drink. "Congratulations on the opportunity. Milan is beautiful in the spring. I haven't accepted yet." That got his attention. He turned back to her, eyes narrowing. "Why not? It's exactly what you wanted. Recognition, advancement, financial stability. Maybe what I want has changed." "Don't." The word was sharp, almost angry. "Don't make this more complicated than it needs to be." "It's already complicated," she countered. "You made it complicated when you took me to dinner, when you looked at me like I mattered, and then you pulled away without explanation." "I explained. Professional boundaries." "Bullshit." The vulgarity surprised them both. "This isn't about professional boundaries. It's about Charlotte Reed." The name hit him like a physical blow. He set down his glass with exaggerated care. "My father has a big mouth. He was trying to help me understand." "Understand what? That I'm damaged goods? That I don't trust creative directors with personal ambition? Lesson learned." He gestured toward the door. "Now go to Milan. Take the opportunity. It's what anyone with sense would do. And if I don't want to go, then you're a fool," he said harshly. "I have nothing to offer you, Olivia. No stability, no future, just complications and old wounds that never quite heal." "I don't believe that." "Believe what you want. The reality is I'm not worth passing up Milan for." She stepped closer, close enough to see the pain behind his anger, the vulnerability he tried so hard to hide. "What if I think you might be?" For a moment, something flickered in his eyes, hope, perhaps, or longing. Then it was gone, replaced by resolute distance. "Then you'd be making a terrible mistake," he said quietly. "One you'd regret when the novelty wears off, and you're left with someone who doesn't know how to let people in anymore." The raw honesty of his admission hung between them. Olivia felt tears pricking at her eyes, but refused to let them fall. "That's your final word on the subject?" she asked. "It's the only word that matters." He turned away again. "Goodbye, Olivia. I hope Milan brings you everything you deserve." She waited, hoping he might say more, might give her some reason to fight for whatever was growing between them. But he remained silent, shoulders rigid, face turned toward the fire. Pride and self-preservation finally won out. "Goodbye, Liam," she said softly, and left the room. Mrs. Hudson waited in the hallway, concern evident on her kind face. "I've called a car for you, dear." "Thank you." Olivia fought to maintain her composure. "Take care of him, will you? He's not as strong as he pretends to be." "Few of us are," the housekeeper replied wisely. "For what it's worth, he hasn't been himself since he met you, in a good way, mostly." Small comfort as Olivia rode back to the city, her decision about Milan suddenly crystal clear, and accompanied by an ache she hadn't anticipated when she'd first slapped William Thornfield Jr. in his sleek office just a month ago. What she didn't know was that as her car pulled away from Thornfield Estate, William Thornfield Sr. was arriving, and that the conversation father and son were about to have would change everything. "You're making a mistake," William Thornfield said, watching his son pour another drink. "Several, apparently," Liam replied, gesturing to the broken decanter. "Add it to my tab." William sighed, taking the glass from Liam's hand. "I meant with Olivia." "There is no with Olivia. She's going to Milan." "Because you're pushing her away." William's voice hardened. "Just like you push everyone away." "Did you come here to lecture me?" "Because I'm really not in the mood. I came because Mrs. Hudson called. She's worried. So am I." Liam laughed bitterly. The great William Thornfield, worried about his failure of a son, alert the media. "Is that what you think? That I see you as a failure? The evidence speaks for itself. You've been trying to replace me since day one." William's expression softened unexpectedly. Not replace, balance. He sat in a leather armchair, suddenly looking every one of his 68 years. "You're brilliant, Liam. Always have been. Analytical, strategic, decisive. But you're missing what your mother brought to our partnership, heart. So you found Olivia to provide it instead. I found a talented creative who challenges you, who makes you better." William leaned forward. "Who makes you feel something again?" Liam turned away. "It doesn't matter. She should take the Milan offer." "Why? Because you're afraid? Because it's best for her career?" "Bullshit." William rarely swore, and the word landed with impact. "You're sending her away because you're terrified of what happens if she stays." "Charlotte is not Olivia," William interrupted. "Charlotte used you. Olivia stood up to you. Charlotte took what she wanted and left. Olivia refused to compete against you when it would have benefited her. People change. Yes, they do. Or they should." William stood, approaching his son. "Your mother would be heartbroken to see how you've walled yourself off. She didn't raise you to hide from life. Don't bring Mum into this. She is in this. Her absence is why we're both such disasters when it comes to letting people in." William placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Elena was our heart, son. When we lost her, we both retreated to what felt safe. Me to work, you to control. But that's not living." Liam's anger deflated, leaving only exhaustion. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stop punishing yourself for Charlotte's betrayal. I want you to take a risk on someone who might actually be worth it." William squeezed his shoulder. "I want you to be happy again. And if it ends badly, then you'll survive. We Thornfields always do." William smiled sadly. "But from where I stand, the greater risk is letting Olivia go to Milan without telling her how you feel." After his father left, Liam stood by the window for hours, watching darkness fall over the estate grounds. By morning, he'd made his decision. Olivia signed the Milan contract Wednesday afternoon, ignoring the hollow feeling in her chest. The opportunity was too good to pass up, especially with her apartment in shambles and her relationship with Liam seemingly beyond repair. "Congratulations," William said, witnessing her signature alongside Victor Hayes. "Milan won't know what hit it." "Thank you for the opportunity," she replied professionally, though part of her wanted to ask about Liam, who'd remained conspicuously absent since their confrontation. "We'll need you to fly out next Thursday for orientation," Hayes explained. "The visa should be processed by then. 1 week, 7 days to pack up her life, make arrangements for her father, say goodbye to Chicago, to Thornfield, to Liam." The thought brought an unexpected tightness to her throat. As Olivia left William's office, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Lunar Presentation Feedback Session. Conference Room 3. Now." Puzzled, there was no feedback session scheduled, she made her way to the third-floor conference room. It was dark when she arrived, the blinds drawn. She flipped the light switch. Surprise! Sophie stood in the center of the room, surrounded by Olivia's Lunar team members, a congratulations banner hanging behind them. A cake with Milan bound, written in blue icing, sat on the conference table. "A little going-away celebration," Sophie explained, hugging her, "since you'll be too busy packing this weekend for a proper party." Touched, Olivia thanked everyone, accepting congratulations and well wishes from her team. They'd worked together for barely a month, but the lunar project had forged strong bonds. As the impromptu party continued, Olivia noticed Sophie checking her phone repeatedly, seeming anxious. "Everything okay?" she asked quietly. "Fine," Sophie said too quickly. "Just waiting for a work thing." Before Olivia could press further, the conference room door opened. Liam stood in the doorway, impeccably dressed, looking nothing like the disheveled man from 2 days ago. The room fell silent, everyone aware of the complicated dynamic between the co-leads. "Sorry I'm late," he said smoothly. "Traffic." Sophie exchanged a glance with him that Olivia couldn't interpret, then suddenly announced, "We need more ice. Everyone come help me find some." Despite the transparent excuse, the team followed Sophie out, leaving Olivia and Liam alone. "Subtle," Olivia commented after they'd gone. "Sophie's idea, not mine." Liam approached cautiously. "Congratulations on Milan." "Thank you." She studied him, searching for signs of the vulnerability he'd shown at the estate, finding none. "How are you feeling? Better than Monday, I hope." "Much." He stopped a few feet away. "Olivia, I need to apologize." "For which part? The dinner? The cold shoulder? The drunken self-pity?" "All of it." He met her gaze directly. "I haven't been fair to you." "No, you haven't." She crossed her arms. "But it doesn't matter now. I'm leaving next week." "I know." He hesitated, then surprised her by pulling a small rectangular box from his pocket. "I brought you something. A going-away present." Wary, she accepted it. Inside was a sleek silver pen, clearly expensive, with her initials engraved on the side. "It's beautiful, but—" "It was my mother's," he interrupted. "She used it to sign her first major account when she and my father started Thornfield." Olivia looked up in shock. "Liam, I can't accept this. It's a family heirloom." "That's why I want you to have it." He took a deep breath. "My mother believed in going after what matters, consequences be damned. It's a quality I've lost sight of, until recently." "Why are you giving me this now?" "Because I needed to say goodbye properly, to wish you well, to tell you—" He faltered. "Tell me what?" He stepped closer. "That I was wrong, that you're worth the risk, that I wish I had realized it before you signed that contract." Her heart pounded. "And if you had? I would have asked you not to go." The simple honesty of his words hung between them, both exhilarating and devastating in its timing. "It's too late," she said softly. "I've made commitments." "I know." His smile was sad. "Like I said, this is goodbye. The right way this time." He leaned in, pressing a gentle kiss to her cheek. "Goodbye, Olivia Bennet. Milan is lucky to have you." Before she could respond, he walked out, leaving her clutching his mother's pen and fighting back tears. Sophie returned moments later, alone. "He's gone." Olivia nodded, unable to speak. "Oh, honey." Sophie wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "What did he say?" "That I'm worth the risk, that he would have asked me to stay." A tear escaped despite her efforts. "A week ago, that's all I wanted to hear. And now? Now I've signed a contract, made promises. It's too late." Sophie gave her a strange look. "Is it, though?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if there was a way you could have both? The Milan opportunity and whatever this is with Liam." "There isn't," Olivia said flatly. "It's 6 months in another country. Unless—" Sophie smiled mysteriously. "You should check your new contract more carefully." Puzzled, Olivia pulled out the Milan agreement, scanning the pages until she reached a clause she'd overlooked in her haste to sign. Project leadership to be shared between Milan and Chicago offices, with bi-weekly coordination in alternating locations. "I don't understand." "It means," came William's voice from the doorway, "that you'll spend 2 weeks in Milan, then 2 weeks in Chicago, throughout the 6-month project." Olivia turned to find both William and Liam standing there. "You knew about this?" "Not until this morning," Liam admitted. "My father neglected to mention this detail when he informed me you were taking the job." William smiled innocently. Must have slipped my mind. So this whole time, you never had to choose, William confirmed, though watching you both agonize over it has been quite illuminating. You manipulative old man, Liam said, but there was affection in his tone. Strategic, William corrected. Like the lunar pitch, some situations require a balanced approach. He glanced between them. I'll leave you two to discuss the implications. Sophie, perhaps you'd join me for some real ice? After they departed, Olivia and Liam stared at each other, the new reality sinking in. 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, Liam said slowly. That's complicated, Olivia finished, but possible. He moved closer. Does this change your answer? To a question you haven't officially asked? Maybe. She held up his mother's pen. Though this suggests you already know what you want. I do. He took her hand. I want to see if this us is as extraordinary as I think it might be, even if it means dealing with my father's smugness for the foreseeable future. Olivia laughed. He did orchestrate everything rather masterfully. Not everything. Liam's expression turned serious. He didn't make me fall for the woman who slapped me in a job interview. That happened all on its own. Fall for? She echoed, heart racing. Too soon? I can retract it if... She silenced him with a kiss, their first, but certainly not their last. When they finally parted, she smiled. No retraction necessary, Mr. Thornfield. Does this mean you'll consider a long-distance arrangement, Ms. Bennett? I'm considering it right now, she replied, pulling him closer, and my preliminary analysis suggests it has potential. Just potential, he teased. Well, I'll need more data to reach a definitive conclusion. Her eyes sparkled. 6 months' worth at minimum. I believe that can be arranged. As they sealed their agreement with another kiss, neither noticed William watching from the hallway, satisfaction evident on his face. His plan had succeeded beyond expectations. Like the best advertising campaigns, it had connected emotionally while achieving strategic objectives. Elena would have approved. 6 months later, as Olivia and Liam celebrated the global success of Uniquely Beautiful with a private dinner in Milan, he presented her with a small velvet box. Another pen? She teased. Not quite. Inside was a ring, elegant, distinctive, clearly antique. My mother's, he explained as Olivia's eyes widened. Dad gave it to me last week when I told him my plans. Plans, she whispered. To ask the most talented, stubborn, occasionally violent woman I know to consider a permanent arrangement. He took her hand. The long-distance experiment has yielded conclusive data, don't you think? Tears sparkled in her eyes. And what does the data suggest? That some risks are absolutely worth taking. He slid from his chair to one knee. Olivia Bennett, will you marry me? Her answer was immediate and enthusiastic, sealing with a kiss the partnership that had begun with a slap. In Chicago, William Thornfield raised a glass to his late wife's photograph. She said, "Yes, Elena, you were right, as always. They just needed a little push." And in the elegant Milanese restaurant, as Olivia and Liam celebrated their engagement, neither could have imagined that what began as the worst job interview in history would lead to a lifetime of creative collaboration, both professional and personal. Sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most perfect endings.